It was really interesting because Mickey Hart from the Grateful Dead was involved, and apparently he got a whole bunch of like percussionists, like a Japanese guy, an Indonesian guy, a Vietnamese guy, and all of these other guys who were, specialized in older, primitive, ancient percussion and stuff, and uh, yeah, it was really cool. And then they just how everything that ancientness came together with the the craziness of the Ivan. Welcome. We are
Good
streaming.
morning.
How it came together with that wonderful synth soundtrack, and we are talking about Apocalypse Now, the soundtrack, because it inspired me. Let's do this. Hello and welcome. This meeting is being live streamed. Got it. Hi, welcome. This is the Art of Rock, and we do this every week. Every Saturday, we are here in Art of Rockdom, in the magical mystic land of Art of Rock. And I will always help if I'm looking at the right screen. Here it comes. First and foremost, I would like to acknowledge the Tongva people as the traditional landowners of this fine area of Los Angeles on which I am perched. Secondly, join us on ANGELSPIT'S Twitch every Saturday at this time. If you're not following ANGELSPIT'S Twitch, please go follow ANGELSPIT'S Twitch. And we do Art of Rock. It's streamed all over the place, but I prefer Twitch. Although it's permanently on YouTube, FYI. Yeah, and we're going to talk about stuff. We're going to inspire you. We're going to inspire each other, and we're going to get out of the funk. This is made possible by ANGELSPIT'S Patreon. That's the URL. If you want to help me out and keep ANGELSPIT going, could be $3 a month. And I am so grateful. And many of the Patreon backers are here. We meet up here. You guys inspire me. Like, these Art of Rock things are shaping the way ANGELSPIT sounds. They really are, and I'm grateful. And Ice Planet 9000. ANGELSPIT'S new album is on BANDCAMP. It's called The Bastard Gods. And it's there. Go get it. It's bloody awesome, and I'm very, 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 very proud of it because it's wonderfully fucked up. There's a whole bunch of more fucked up shit you can get. It's on Spotify, and you can listen to it for free. It's amazing. It's called Industrial Prime Cuts. It's a whole bunch of new bands and a whole bunch of old bands, and they're all mixed in there together, and they're bloody awesome. So go have a listen, and you will like it. And if you hear a new band you like, follow them and start listening to them more. And if you want to get a whole bunch more rock and roll, you need MTV TV. And once we're done here, we're going to stream on over to MTV. We're going to raid to MTV TV. And I absolutely promise you, within an hour of watching that show, you're going to discover a new band that you love. They also run a Patreon, and we've got to keep them going. So if you run a live stream or anything like that, once you're done, raid back to MTV TV. They will play everything. They support everyone. They are amazing. So that's the amazingness that I want to share with you. We were just talking about synth soundtracks, specifically Apocalypse Now. And we can go anywhere we want. The reason I brought it up is I was watching it. So new ANGELSPIT stuff, I'm experimenting with Darkness. Heart of Darkness. And it occurred to me that I haven't done like a creepy instrumental in a few albums. So I'm working on creepy instrumentals. I'm basing it on instruments that I've built and all sorts of fun things. And I want to do something. Yeah, I want to do something dark and something very dark. So I'm sort of I'm watching movies and watching the documentaries about the movies. And the fascinating thing about Apocalypse Now is it's about the unspeakable horror of an unspeakably horrible war, which is unspeakably horrible. But the ethos that they had in shooting the movie for 200 days, it was a 238-day shoot or something crazy. 238. Wait a minute, isn't that a Kubrick number? Room 238. Oh my God. Um, and it's a so they decided whether they went to or not, they all went to hell. They went to their own personal hells, and everybody was having heart attacks and nervous breakdowns and arguments and fights and knife fights and threatening to kill themselves, more so than any other regular movie. But in doing so, they created something that was amazing. And there's a line in it where Coppola says, "I don't want an Academy Award, I want the Nobel Prize," which is so fantastically Coppola. But, you know, think about that. I want to make a movie that's so incredible that it's people change. And, you know, man, I've seen that movie. You know, I don't mean to be talking about the movie too much. I've seen it a few times, and I only like watch it every once in a while, like every few years. And every it's 237. Thank you. Every time I watch that movie, it becomes more and more horrifying. Like there's more things I get, and there's more things that are like, as I get older and I understand grief and I understand pain and loss, and I understand the tragedy of really losing it. I just watch it and I go, they're not acting. Anyway, so I want to talk about synthesizers or guitars or whatever that are used in horror or not in horror that evoke something wonderfully dark. The floor is open. I want to hear what you have to say about this. How do you do it? Where's it go?
I don't have a direct answer to what you're saying quite yet. I'm thinking about it. And I know we've talked about some of the dissonances and low frequency stuff in the past, but spiritually and inspirationally, I don't notice score. When I'm watching a movie, like I miss all of that. And if it's a good film, I miss all of the cinematography and I miss all of the script writing and I miss all of the acting and I'm there. So I've definitely taken to listening to people talking about it. It's the metacontextual stuff. So the fact that Apocalypse Now itself is so about the characters that made the thing and what it was like being in that place, experiencing actually having scarcity of the props and war machines and actual fires and explosions and actual hot jungle and actual Sofia Coppola being there documenting the thing in real time. Like it's a singular example of how big Coppola's personality was in this thing and how big the people that he involved with the whole production were. It's fascinating. But the thing that takes me out of it and that I do notice, and this is not uncommon, is the needle drops, like the things that are outside of the score. And when they pick De Valkyrie for a big dramatic scene, I'm like, oh my God, Wagner, you know, like listening to that. And not that it's not effective, it still like totally works for the scene. But there's this like distinction between producers really like this tune, or the editors were totally had this temped in during the whole thing and they couldn't get rid of it because it was so perfect, or they loved it. And there's a lot of examples of that. And I have, although it's a little bit of a compromise and getting lost in the film, gotten so many like, oh, this is my favorite song for the next 4 years. I'm going to learn it on how to play it and understand about the band. Baby Blue by Badfinger in the pivotal scene of, spoilers, sorry, Breaking Bad. There've been a lot of the prestige TV shows where the companies have access to some amazing classic rock and modern tunes that are just like, I don't know who this artist is, I've never heard the song, but this scene works so beautifully well and is so inspiring that I get to take it away and like have some sort of, I'm going to rip these parts off, I'm going to learn how that production happened. But yeah, Heart of Darkness and the sweaty jungleness apparent on the film, and the score and the particular, you know, classical music example of that one are super good example moments of the contrasts that I've experienced. Anyway, I want to stop there just because I'm like excited about those things and I've found them to be useful in taking inspiration into the rest of my work. But I want to think more about the actual production techniques that you're sort of getting to with synthesizers and stuff. So
No, that was great. Thank you. There's a moment in it where they do something really simple, and instead of having the sound of a helicopter, they have like an LFO kind of wafting through the frequencies. Yes, Alistair, welcome. The doors is and it's just tiny things like that I was watching this movie, and I picked up a record yesterday by it was called Sidewinder or something, and it's been it's at Rubicon, which is a place in LA that I love going into and just flipping through all this shit that I don't know about because I'm not cool enough. And the guy's got a Surge on the cover, and I was like, fuck it, I'm getting that. And also Tomiko, here's another one as well. They had him doing the planets. I should have got that, but maybe I'll get it next time. But it's the thing I love about that stuff, like the 70s mindset of a synthesizer is it's so free. I've talked about this before, that there's sounds in Apocalypse Now that are like, dude, I would never use that. And there's sequences that are running, in G Michael Jarre's Oxygen or whatever, where there's 2 or 3 sequences running and they're not in time. They're not clocked. And it's really curious that I watch this stuff and I listen to this stuff, and it's like, there's so much of my mind that I need to free. What was I watching recently? Something else. A Bowie video as well. I've been fucking deep diving into Bowie documentaries. So as you can tell from all this, I have lost my way creatively completely. But I'm finding it again, and it's interesting how what I'm constantly finding is that my mind has become locked at the expectation of what I think the audience wants to hear. And I'm now looking down the barrel of album number 12 for Angel Spit, and I have to be honest, I don't know what to do. And what I really want to do is just go fuck it, and write a whole bunch of horror movie soundtracks. And that's actually where it's going to go, because a lot of people who dig Angel Spit dig on that shit, and they dig on the horror stuff that I do. And there's this voice in the back of my head going, oh, but the DJs won't play it. Oh, but this won't happen. And oh, it won't get the likes and all that sort of stuff. And sure, man, there is a financial obligation and realization with it. But, and Eno, oh my God, I always bring up Eno. Ivan, I see your hand, give me a sec. It's just about the difficulty of freeing my mind, and it's about the difficulty, my God, here we go again, of allowing myself to say, I am going to spend 8 hours on a track now, fudging around, not having a clue what I'm doing. Because if I always go, well, if I'm not spending 8 hours on a track, I'm going to be watching some dumb crap on YouTube. And that's why. I don't, and this isn't a complaint about, those bad corporations or anything. This is a complaint about, why does my brain do that? And I don't really want to hear about the chemistry of Carl's brain or the brain, blah, 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 but I'm acknowledging that it happens, and I am acknowledging that I'm done with it. And, I'm doing this thing now that when I am sitting down watching a movie or something, I am sitting there with a notepad. And if I'm not taking notes, then I'm doodling. I'm somehow transcribing the ideas and the inspiration that is coming off here. I'm drawing pictures of a flow chart of a synthesizer block to kind of try and create that helicopter sound, or whatever the hell that is bubbling in the jungle. That I need to, I'm hungry and I need to eat. Synthetic things only. Ivan, I want to hear about your diet and your appetite. I want to hear about your appetite.
So make horror soundtracks, and screw the DJs. Find somebody that wants to pay you for a sync license, because guess what? That's where the money's at these days. So yeah, like, people will hear your music then too. They'll hear it in the background. There'll be screams over the top of it, but they will still get it. and it's a thing.
Yeah, been there, done that, no luck. I don't want to talk about sync licenses, but I really thank you for other people that might work. But I'm in this really weird position musically where I don't want to talk about this too much. Is that if I invest time into making some weird abstract ANGELSPIT thing, I will yield X much money. And I'm sorry to talk about money, but this is my job. And so many other people, they want this to be their job, so it's okay for me to talk about this. But if I try and do something for a sync license, etc., and they don't want to know. I've had 3 big contracts with big companies, and we're going to put your music everywhere, Carl, and they don't. Sync licensing is a fucking scam. It's a fucking scam. Anyway, no, I'm sorry, Ivan. Thank you very much for that. And there's going to be some other people who can yield from that. I personally won't. I don't want to talk about sync right now. I want to talk about inspiring, exciting things to inspire you to make rock and roll and freaky shit. And I once again I do thank you for your ideas. I'm going to do something even better, and I'm going to make music that if Kino hears it. My friend Kino, she makes movies. If Mike hears it, Mike the Liar. If Keith Jensen from Brainworm, if those guys hear it, I'll say fucking just use it. Yeah. Anyway, but nevertheless, I think other bands it works.
In the end though, also like just make an album of just horror soundtracking stuff because why not? And it's fun.
Yeah,
and
it's fun.
If you're having fun, the creativity is going to be better.
Yes, I absolutely agree. I actually did a horror soundtrack with a known director and it's got shelved. I don't think it was shot and the whole lot, and I don't think it's ever going to get released. And it's like, really?
Hey, that is a Hollywood thing.
Yeah, but they could just put it on Shudder or something.
It's just like, a Hollywood thing.
What the fuck are you waiting for? And it was, oh my God. Anyway, look, it doesn't matter.
I got modeled. I was an important mob boss in a video game. That video game is never going to see the light of day.
Yeah, that's fucked. Sorry. You make a great mob boss too.
I would have been awesome for it.
You would. Yeah, you got the hair and everything, and you've also got the very sinister personality. Like I think you could come up with some really nice Resi, I see your hand. I'm just talking about death threads. I think you could come up with some great death threads. And they'd be like really Ivan-esque, like.
Oh yeah, no, something involving a rusty spoon and eye sockets.
Yeah, but you wouldn't say eye sockets, but it would have some
ocular
word.
cavity.
And it would, Atomic Tom says, I would take Ivan's deal, and you don't want to refuse. But yeah. Anyway, thank you. I just want to throw this to the resonator, to the Razinator. Razzie, blow my mind.
Carl, did you name check Tomita a moment ago? And if so, please tell me what you know about his work and where you've drawn inspiration, because I think I lack a total familiarity with this artist. I need to fix that.
He's a cover artist. And I've got one of his albums. Do I still have it? Yeah, Firebird. So what he used to do is a Japanese guy. He had a big modular, big Moog. And he would do classical tracks on his Moog. Kind of like Hooked on Bark, but a bit more weird. Although Hooked on Bark was pretty fucking weird. And I'm not touching that because it's one of the greatest albums ever written. Biggest selling classical album ever. Hooked on Bark. There you go. Anyway, and he did a whole bunch of stuff. Like he did Debussy, and he did whole bunch. And it's really interesting stuff. It's very it's like nice to listen to it in the background. And if you like classic and you like synthesizers, you're gonna love this guy. And it wasn't like tacky. It was very interesting. And the way he laid it all down was just fucking great. But yeah. So I say get into him because he's pretty awesome. It's fun. It's fun. Oh, synthesizers. Yay.
It sounds like there's some sort of Raymond Scott vibe going on there, where he's a bit of a wacky dude with a personality in front of the
wacky dude
music.
with a modular and a cat. Yep. And bakes bread and pickles. Yes. And he's into nice grains of wood and craft beers. You know, one of those. And he's thinking about moving to Chicago soon. Logan Square specifically. Oh my God. And everybody I think is a bit blushed right now because I just described a lot of people, myself included. Anyway, and fine whiskey, but what was I saying? Yeah, really interesting stuff. And the thing I love about that stuff is that it their choice of sounds are so interesting. It's like some of those sounds is like, dude, what are you doing? But they're awesome because I wouldn't do that. And it's really interesting is that from the perspective of a guy who's really into synthesizers, I listen to it and I go, what are you doing? And from the perspective of somebody who just wants to listen to the music, it's like, oh, wow, that's really cool. Why is this different? You know, again, I've got a fucking modular synth that's like 5 foot wide and 7 foot tall. And it sounds, I have got to break this thing out and make it sound music for cats. Throwing in a Skinny Puppy reference there. And that's, you know, why, again, I just love them 70s soundtracks because there wasn't a rule, there wasn't an expectation. And, you know, my God, I love Blade Runner. It's incredible. And always remember the movie before Blade Runner, I think was Chariots of Fire, which is holy crap. I mean, like that theme track is tacky because my grandma liked it, but she liked it because it was good. And Chariots of Fire is, and funny, my grandma was actually one of my biggest influences. She was the best. Made amazing fudge, let me tell you. Dude, and it was hard fudge too, hard chocolate fudge. And it didn't crystallize, it was just perfect, creamy, hard fudge. And whenever she was doing something naughty, she'd whisper, "Don't tell your mother. Don't tell your mother that we made fudge." Hold on, I pushed something. Anyway, and she had an organ. It's this old Lowry, and the Lowry had a crappy old drum machine in it. And I think that's where I first went, oh, this sounds so cool. And the kick drum had some real bass in it. Anyway, Chariots of Fire was amazing because it was basically the same song through the whole movie. And I think it was his first score and it was really good. But by that stage, it's funny that synthesizer sounds had become, oh, well, this is what synthesizers sound like. So this is what we're going to start sounding like. And then everything kind of like got concreted over in Blade Runner, which was amazing. Blah, 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 Blade Runner, yeah, yeah, yeah. But it sort of, from that point on, I think there was a normality. And I'm trying really, or maybe I have accepted that normality. Oh, gee, I'll make it sound like a CS80. I have to break away from that. Rezi, I want to hear your creamy voice.
The Chariots of Fire signature theme changed culture. I mean, that broke out of the movie screen. It turned onto the radio. The rhythmic elements, the expressiveness of the pseudo trumpet style fanfare stuff, the top line melody, like, are part of anybody who's 50 years old's childhood. I mean, it just existed in the air. It was a cultural phenomenon, and it can't be stressed strongly enough, like how widely accepted and I don't know what it ranked in a radio charts kind of sense.
Went to number one in Australia.
Yeah, for example. I mean, it was everywhere. It was just in the air. It was part of it was parodyable. It was, you could make a joke out of that. You could just play the eighth notes on something and people would know the reference if you were running in slow motion. It's a thing. But it definitely pushed the palette out. Like, it didn't sound like strictly synthesizers or modular tones where it's saw waves and super saws and stuff. It had texture, and that's one of the, things about having a Vangelis sized room of somewhat customized composing tools around you is you get to be very expressive and
Fuck
hit
that guy.
Yeah, I mean, sure, basically. That's what I'm saying.
I absolutely agree with you. And Ivan Holland, give me a sec. I totally agree. And it was, yeah, man, it was, you and me can't speak for those 50 people because, like, we're only 23, 24. It was amazing. And if you're not familiar with Chariots of Fire, listen to it. And it is a brilliant piece of music, and everything about it just stinks of brilliantness. Hold on. Give me a sec here. Alice is saying, until my mid-20s, my entire knowledge of Latin beats came from the drum machine of my grandma's organ. Me too. But it's funny, like, if you want to learn about bossa, that's a bossa beat. That's what they sound like. And sure, you can go crazy places with the rumba and everything. But it was great. My first experience and addiction to synthesizers started as 16-year-old me playing with a friend's brother's bands with my Roland SH2. Rob, I didn't know you had an SH2. Completely unmusical as it is, low gradient and creation. Rob, we need to have the Dogs in Space conversation. Great movie if you haven't seen that one. But Chariots of Fire is amazing, and it's another attributed to the amazingness of Vangelis, whatever, because he is so simple. Like, it's so simple. You listen to that stuff and it's like, wow, it's simple. And that guy is the jazz, like, he is jazz Prince. That guy plays jazz piano like it's no one's business. He's a monster. I'm prattling now. Ivan, go.
Okay, two thoughts. If you're of a certain age, the soundtrack for Chariots of Fire is just how you remember 1982. Like, any memory from 1982 has that soundtrack playing in the background because it was everywhere. Also, Dogs in Space is a brilliant movie.
I'm impressed you know it.
George, I saw that way back in the day. It's great.
Yeah. Well, that was Melbourne, man.
Good old days.
That were the good old days. Yeah. Anyway, so talk to me more about synthesis. And that's a really lovely thing about Dogs in Space, as well as that Tim, the keyboard player, had no idea what he was doing. And his keyboards were broken half the time. So he was making all this crazy bleep bloop in this mad band called Dogs in Space. And it's really funny. I talk to some Australians and they go, oh, I hate that movie. It's so dumb. And it's like, fucking, it's awesome. What's your problem? I know. They need to be punched. So talk to me more about synthesizers, Razzie.
I'd just like to say that the other 1982 defining sound is the Me and My Rhythm Box scene from Liquid Sky. I think,
was that 82?
I might not have seen it in 82, but I think it was the same. I think that was the year.
Me and My. So they have that on vinyl at a shop down the corner. And when they first came out on vinyl, it was like $40. Now it's down to $22, and it's still there, and no one wants it except me. Oh my God. Okay. Can I rant on Liquid Sky for a minute?
I hope you do.
Floor is open if you guys want to jump in here. Okay. So the story behind Liquid Sky, if you haven't seen Liquid Sky, you must see it, and you must see it many, 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 many times. You've got to see it a few times, because the first time you're going to go, what? Why is she ordering shrimp? What's going on here? What? It was written by a group of film students in West Berlin and in New York, and they got together, went to New York and filmed it. It's about heroin and aliens. Liquid Sky was apparently street talk for heroin, and it was shot on 14th near where Andy Warhol had the happenings. In fact, I think it was shot in one of the old happening spaces. And that was actually like a block from where I used to live in New York. Anyway, they reference Bowie a lot, and they were talking about shooting a follow-up, and they were talking about doing it only recently, pre-pandemic. Yeah, there's something brilliant between the main two actors. I'm not going to say what that is because it wasn't totally obvious to me the first time I saw it. I went, but we're not going to give that one away. You have to see it. Yeah, and because the movie makes a lot of comment to androgyny, and it makes a lot of comment to Bowie. More androgynous than Bowie himself is one of my favorite lines from any movie ever. And what happened is Bowie saw that movie and it inspired the video clip to Fashion, which inspired fashion in the 80s. And what's crazy is that there's a whole bunch of UV stuff. There's a whole bunch of wild fashion going on because at the club, everything revolved around the club that they'd go to. There was always a fashion show. Can we please bring back fashion shows at clubs? In fact, can we please make clubs just fashion shows? Did you guys see the jacket I made? It was pretty fucking ballin'. Maybe I should put it on. I was very proud of it. I just have to wear it out now. I realized it's made of a tuxedo, so it's kind of hot. And that in LA is a problem still. But Bowie was mega inspired by this movie. And it's just great. It's a really, really, really good weird music. And the Fairlight is basically, is it CR78 drum machine? Her rhythm box and that song, Me and My Rhythm Box, is predicting the future. And the rest of the soundtrack was on a Fairlight with the Sa-Ra, I can never say it right, sample, but it's got a bad sample point. The sample point is clicking. Razzie, what's this YouTube link? It's the trailer. Okay, I'm going to put the trailer.
Liquid Sky trailer.
Chat. Go watch it. And I'm not going on about this movie because it's a really great movie. I'm going on about this movie because it's inspiring. That once again, zero budget with. I have a feeling with that budget, they said, okay, oh my God, we were going to do this on a crappy SH2, but I have a friend who has a friend who has a friend who's got a Fairlight, and we're allowed to use that Fairlight for 3 hours. So we get to do the whole soundtrack in 3 hours. Okay, let's go. It's so inspiring because it's so weird. It's held together with gaffer tape. And it's a sort of movie you watch and you go, God damn it, I want to make a movie like that. I could do this. And of course we don't because we're death scrolling, but blah. Yeah, great movie. And I really want to buy that soundtrack. Maybe I should. Maybe I should do that today. Somebody talk to me about something amazing and inspiring because it's Inspiring Saturday. Anyone? I'll keep talking. Her makeup and stuff. This is what's crazy about Liquid Sky is that I watch that movie and I go like, where did they draw the inspiration for that? Because apparently it was shot in 79. I'm not too sure about this. Like it was crazy death rock. It was like mad death rock, sorry, it was late 70s. Why am I talking about death rock? Maybe it's inspired by death rock. I don't know. But when you look at the makeup, you go, oh, that's Duran Duran. Oh, that is Neuromantic. But my understanding is that this movie precedes Neuromanticism. Yeah. Mystify, which is about Michael Hutchence. Thank you very much. Assault on Precinct 13 is another amazing soundtrack. Thank you very much. So welcome to Art of Rock, and we're talking about synthesizers and movies and madness and how synthesizers do crazy stuff. I'm going to throw the floor open because I got nothing here. Someone help me out. Let's go. Resonator, hit me.
I don't know if this leads to anything that we can all jump in on in the same way as that stuff, but I did allude to the stuff that I was interested in working on with the impulse responses. Do you want me to
please expand on it and
go on about that? Yeah. So if my understanding of it is the history of impulse response came from the difference between an algorithmic reverb and one where you sampled an actual space, and you could fire off a starter pistol or do a tone sweep into a room, record that tone sweep, and the resulting difference between the shot or the tone is something you can build a reverb out of. And it's a temporal as well as tonal, so it's a two-dimensional at least effect. And I remember Altiverb being the first one that I used, and there was one impulse response program called PA Speaker in a Factory Hall. And it was eerie and thin and creepy and a very long reverb, and I used the hell out of it. And soon after that, the next thing that IRs got popular use out of was modeling speaker cabinets for rock guitarists. And the maybe 10 years after it started peaking, but it's still extremely popular and vital community of people trading ARs and making IRs of really classic and excellent and their favorite speaker cabinets. So you either put the tone sweep or a impulse shot electronically through the thing, mic it up, and now you've got a model of that cabinet and all the tone imprints and resonances of that cabinet. And it sounds good. There's endless ways to argue about, does it sound as good as miking it? Is it as flexible as getting that cab and owning it and miking it? Of course, there's an argument, but you have access to the tone imprints and sound characteristics of unlimited classic speakers with your 45-watt greenbacks or Marshall torn grill cloth so the mic can get closer, or all these quirks. And I found it fascinating. I've downloaded a lot of impulse responses over the years. I've never made one. I've never had a piece of gear that I wanted to impulse. No, I sold them before it was possible to do. So I've never owned concurrently a classic piece of audio gear that I wanted to sample and had the technology to do it. But right now, I've been playing, I think I've mentioned this over the past couple of weeks, actually, a lot of guitar through a tube preamp that I'm not doing any distortion. It's just doing some tonal and some dynamic stuff. And I was interested in, getting started with running impulse responses through that and seeing about plugging it in or making, a VST impulse response player holder of this particular device. And I will say two things. One, I would love it if anybody has something to chime in about having done this or the process or their favorite tools or abusing it or different ideas about it. And two, it's goes toward the creative juices flowing ideas. It's on my checklist of stuff to do. It gives me a reason to get back into the studio and, have some intensity about the work. Even though I'm procrastinating on doing it, it's on my checklist. So.
Okay. And Brett, welcome. I've had no experience, so I want to throw this open to anyone who has had experience or wants to have experience. But if I may say, one, I need to get into this. Two, are there hardware versions? Because I'm a snob. Three, there are some car parks in this city that I want to bloody record. Because there are some car parks in this town, and car park, it's pronounced car park.
Car park.
Car park.
Car park.
Well, I'm talking to someone from Boston, so I'm figuring we've got that in common,
Yeah.
That sound so incredible.
There are hardware solutions for it in guitar amps, like the most popular and most expensive amp simulators always include an impulse response slot or two. I don't know about modular standalone units. There probably are, though, I'm going to guess. And yes, that is the spirit of this thing. When you hear, you're like, I want that. You put your tone sweep into it, mic it up, get that, and it's yours. So 100%.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Floor's open. Does anybody want to throw in here? I have no experience. I'm just listening.
I will report back when I've actually done this and see if it was successful or not. But, once I do put the tools together, I'll probably have that much more likelihood of going out into the world and grabbing some impulses out there. The other ones, in Altiverb, the classic OG one that I was referring to, there are very, very, very helpful tools for location sound. So if you've got an ambience that you need to replicate for your dialogue replacement, they're talking in a car. You're never going to get an algorithmic reverb to sound like a 62 VW, you know, whatever. Just run a shot in there. You've got the impulse, send it to your post people, and you'll be able to replicate something pretty close to matching your dialogue, because the engine was running and you're going to be replacing all the dialogue anyway, except for this one line which you really want to keep, so you have to match them. It's kind of made for that in the audio post world. And another surprising one was forest, out in the woods, the trees, you know, taking that out of the environment and listening to it in isolation on cans is like, oh, that is absolutely what a forest sounds like. And the visual stimulus of trees everywhere doesn't confer, you know, an awareness of the reverb that you're hearing. So when you isolate it and you're not seeing the forest, you really hear, oh my God, there is a long diffuse reverb off of all of those trees and stuff. So there's some fascinating experimenting to be done in there from my angle anyway. I've gotten a lot of pleasure and experimentation time out of the stuff that already exists. Pre-made stuff.
Okay. Are these? I want to talk about reverbs. All right. So with the hardware versions, like just a reverb, just a fucking reverb. And then anyone could tell me, because I was thinking about getting I don't know. I was thinking I need to grow up and get a really good reverb. Like I was looking at the Roland, is it 303 reverb, the space reverb? It's like 20 years old and everybody still goes, oh my God, it's so good. Local pond at night with frogs croaking is an amazing natural reverb. Thank you, Rob. But that's really interesting. I've never thought about the reverb of a forest. You're hearing sound bounce off trees. Do you have you used non-Western instruments or tunings or things running through harp pedals or delay? Yeah, I don't know. Not really. Well, kind of. The K2000 will allow me to tune things strangely. And also the blaster beam doesn't have frets, and a lot of the instruments I'm building don't have frets. And I was going to do something with something, but I haven't got around to that. I haven't really too much. But I want to, and actually, you know, going outside of regular tunings is a beautiful road to either ambience or horror. Isn't it great? It's either going to go beautiful ambience or it's going to go creepy horror. That's what I got. We're not talking about reverb anymore. Hold on, but Rezzy's showed me his finger.
That was the first piece of hardware that I ran across that does impulse loading. The other term to look for is convolution reverb. That's what it used to be called before the impulse was the main term. But like convolution was big in like 94 for graphics and audio processing for whatever reason. And it turned into actual things. But that one's an actual IR loader in a piece of hardware. It's a pedal, not a Eurorack or 500 series, but it's a start. Yeah.
I will look closely. My favorite reverb in the whole wide world is the BAT, is the noise engineering. They have weird names. I couldn't be fucked. It's the BAT thing, the BAT reverb. And it's insane. It's just so insane. It's like transformative. You listen to it and you go, wow, this is amazing. Okay. Do we want to talk about reverbs or do we want to talk about strange tunings? Reverb might follow. Hold on, Rezzy, what do you got? What's going on?
I mean, both. I'm not really prepared for either mentally, but I mean, the reverbs are a pretty deep place to get talking for sure. I mean,
let's go.
I think like I have some classic preferences for these things, but my goodness, which direction to go in. I mean, let's talk about like the classic sound of digital reverb, post plate, actual big units when Lexicon and AMS, whatever, started making digital verbs, and they have had a bit of a gritty quality, but it was after like the real expensive ones with a ton of RAM chips in them and a extremely, hot power supply, they had a impossible lushness that didn't sound like a cathedral. It didn't sound like a room. It had a chorused, swirling characteristic that never existed before. And there was a shimmering plate kind of sound, and there was the long hall, so-called hall, but it didn't sound like a natural room at all. It just has this incredible linear smoothness and development in the sound that you could control and, change how the top rolls off and how the early reflections of slap reverbs worked into it and how long it took for it to build up, and just really like going in and working on these characteristics. And it's the sound of post 1978 through 85, that development time when people just started putting huge reverbs on everything.
Show the fucking horn.
Yeah, I mean, sure. The Art of Noise era stuff couldn't have sounded like it did without digital reverb, for sure. But I think like the Lexicon 480L time is like, there's this little box that sits on every console on the cover of Mix magazine with one of those terrible digital wristwatch red LED displays and 4 sliders. And you can assign the sliders to be like time, tone, pre-delay or something like that. But you'd call up, a rack unit that was for you, and you could add RAM to it. And the programs in that thing probably were like the high point of this like early but fully developed, spectacular sounding digital reverb era. And eventually Lexicon came out with somewhat affordable drop-in cards that you could put inside your computer that ran the same programs. So I happen to have an old Mac 8100 running just to keep the Lexicon 480L style new verb card. It's a new bus, Mac new bus, daughter card, processing card that slips into the computer. And there's a digital to analog box that plugs into that, but it'll run some of the similar algorithms and very, very similar sounds to the 480L, which I could never afford. And I bought this 20 years after it was useful for anyone. So it's not like I paid anything for these things, but it's a fun moment in history when that stuff just peaked, and it didn't get any better than that. I mean, obviously there's Bricasti and Lexicon modern stuff that is opulent and gorgeous, and there's plugins by Valhalla that absolutely do this exact stuff for $89 on your computer. But having the original random hall and lush plate algos, just on a piece of hardware, it's a special thing. I'm going to stop there.
Man, thank you. This is interesting. And Brett, thank you for bringing up the Alesis Quadriverb 2. It's fucking beautiful. I foolishly sold mine. I had one, I sold it. Like, I could buy another one for $100. Maybe I should. But it's such a great, really great, simple one. I actually got because I was going through this period of I have to find the ultimate reverb because, Ice Planet 9000 ambience, I need reverb. And it can't be on the computer because the computer can't handle the processing of it. And I ended up getting a MXP 200 Lexicon, which is, I know it's some forgotten blue thing that it's presets, but you can control them via MIDI. And there's all this really cool stuff you can do, and it's 4 ins. I know it's 2 ins, 4 outs. It's kind of like Lexicon's take on a quadriverb.
Yep.
And they're quite lush reverbs. And the way I've got everything set up here is that I can go, and I've got an analog modular spring reverb I'm super happy with, and I bought a plate because I want to make a plate, but I never got around to it. And I should use the blaster beam and. But it's just really interesting how every now and then you come across a reverb, and these a reverb that is like, it doesn't just add reverb, it puts the sound into a different dimension. And it's like, Wow, Brett, tell me about it. What do you got?
For us, so one of our early bands, man, one of my early bands, was a garage gig called Maddox, and so we would predominantly use the quad reverb as my as my primary vocal unit. And the reason for that is we had all these presets in it, and we could trigger them off right from the MIDI sequence. So it made it really lightweight, everything ran smooth. But when we decided to get more experimental and just kick on the tape recorders, we would do these things that I've mentioned before called chaos tracks. What we would do is we'd set this thing up with multiple delays, and each one we'd set at like 10 seconds long. And then we would sit and put, we would turn on televisions, radios, and we had a microphone with an on and off. And we would sit there and we kick up all kinds of noise in this room, anything we could find. It was literally named after the noise in the room. It's chaos. And we would just sit there and walk around as it was being fed through this delay, and just kept feedback, layer on layer on layer. And we would just take bits out of the environment and build this backing track that we would then cut up and use as background environments in our songs.
That's awesome. I fucking love that. The concept of actually building sound based on what's going around you and then munching it into chaos is glorious. Rezi, what do you got?
I want to add to that same spirit, hopefully, and talk about the main digital reverb that I invested in 1986 or whatever was the Dep 5, the Roland, still in the rack there with its glorious vacuum fluorescent display. But it had two features, and one was infinite hold on reverb. You could hit something while the reverb is going and it would not decay. And chorus modulation that you could dial in the feedback path of the reverb for just a very otherworldly ambient sound. And the two things that quick anecdotes for that are, one, building a vocal layering harmony choir kind of thing by ing into the microphone and turning on the infinite hold. And I got that into recordings, and that was some of my first, I'm going to be a, sound design kind of fan and maybe play with more synthesizers and do effects stuff more than just guitar and drums. And then the second thing is I got somehow mind-altering experience in college, just microphone into the Dep 5 long reverb tails and being just lost in the sound of vocal utterances into that fucking thing. Maybe it was only 5 minutes. I don't know. Who could say? Seemed like hours.
Yeah, that's how it works usually. It's great. I'm all about it. And oh man, I've always wanted to try and create a reverb in a bathroom or something and do that, mic it up with two mics and just experiment with this stuff. Super fun stuff.
I absolutely had that experience too. That was one of the first things, listening to spaces and hearing the, I wanted to also bring this specifically up, the small spaces, the ambience of a room and hearing room tone on a mic, on a drum, on a guitar cab, hearing those short things, and putting a microphone in the bathroom with a guitar amp was definitely one of the first things that I attempted to do to add reverb without owning a digital device or a good room. So I'm all about that.
Yeah. And Brent also mentioned a nuclear cooling tower would be an amazing reverb. Apparently the longest reverb in the world is in Scotland, and it's got a 7-minute reverb tail. And it's an old tank under the ground that was used for diesel. It's this huge tank, and it has a 7-minute reverb. And fucking put that in your ambient track. Oh, that would be amazing. It's how do you fade that out though? And they were saying that this incredible thing happens that if you fire off a pistol, because of the room, the hall, it sucks up the highs. So, after 4 minutes, it's just the rumble. Razzie, what is this link?
It's a great example of Sylvia Massey doing a snare drum demo in a highly reverberant nuclear cooling tower.
Okay.
And she is a microphone hound. She has a historical collection of just incredible examples. So she's fun to watch doing recording stuff. She's great.
Okay, I love it. Somebody jump in with something inspiring. Quickly, go. Come on, let's go. It's Saturday morning. Let's get inspired.
Y'all have me thinking about hooking up these two quadriverbs now and seeing what happens with the rest of the day.
Oh, do it. Dude, I'm seeing symbols and shit behind you, and I'm saying rubbing those symbols. And, Diana brought up the question about, like, things that aren't scaled, basically off Western scales, or, have a massive, reverb, and have a sound that is just slowly moving up and down in pitch, very, very slowly and very, very subtly, very slowly, and letting its reverb fall on top of each other. So it's creating this pure cloud of tonal cluster within a quarter of a tone. Like that's a lovely, lovely, exciting thing. Resi, I see your hand.
I don't know if I have anything currently inspirational about microtonal stuff, but I spent a lot of time playing with Elaine Walker in the band Zia back in the day, and she is dedicated to mathematical tunings where you don't have octaves, or they're divided into 21 tones instead of 12, or other ratios, and they are baffling and challenging, and they don't lend themselves to the kind of memorable top line singable melodies that we're so accustomed to. But it's a pretty fascinating thing if you're dedicated to it. I mean, obviously the piano keyboard is a limiting factor, but Elaine always said, well, I always wondered what's between the notes, like what's going on between E and F and B and C, like what so there's an ear thing that you've got to do. There's a mind leap that you've got to make to find them pleasurable or memorable to some extent. But the King Lizard band is doing it right now. They're doing some extremely catchy and approachable microtonal stuff, and it doesn't sound necessarily exotic. It just sounds out, and it's a bit trippy, a bit psychedelic just by the way it bends your ear. But rather than citing any like of the obvious cultural touchstones that we've talked about in the past, there's a couple of more modern sort of electronic and rock idiom things that are places to explore for that. I know Elaine's still writing papers and making music as of recently, and King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, unfortunately I have to say that name, are doing hippie ass, weed smoking, trippy rock and roll jams that are kind of fascinating and don't sound like Western 12-tone stuff once they get microtonal, and they have special fretted guitars to make that happen. It's pretty interesting.
Because I know Sonic Youth also used to do microtoning on each string. So although the string is still stuck to the fretboard, this one might not be E or D flat, but D sharp, but halfway between, or E or F, but halfway between them. That's so fascinating. That stuff's lovely. And that's a great thing as well about modular synths and stuff, is that, you come up with lines and bleepy bloop things that aren't like that. And it's what it does to the psyche. That's what's interesting. It's what it does to the mind of the person listening and what it does to their emotion. That's why microtones are a wonderful thing to pull on. Carl, please take note of this conversation. I have to do this. I have to do this more. If anybody else wants to talk, I'd love to hear it. Otherwise, I'm going to rant. Brett, go.
Along the same lines, I found it's often a really cool thing, as a listener, to find when someone takes a sound that is really microtonal, really atonal, something that's kind of maybe a little grating, and pair it with something traditionally really pretty. It really adds another dimension to what happens in the brain space.
Yeah. So I forgot what I was going to talk about. Yeah, once again, it comes down to you must explore. You have to go, you have to let yourself do it. And I don't know, is it just me? Because for me, it always comes down to I'm not allowed to be a little boy anymore. I'm not allowed to be in my sandpit. I'm not. Why? And I wonder, is it me? Is it just me who is going through this, or is this something that everybody's facing? Is it like, I'm past asking why. I can't ask why. I don't fucking care. I know that I have this problem and this problem is there. That I need to stop being such an adult, and I need to find this experimentation without drinking, without sleep deprivation, without drugs. I need to find it through the cleanliness of my head, through some other ritual of getting back to who I am by using what is at my feet right now. And it's really interesting that in this conversation, I have been on certain websites that are basically porn, looking up the price of Alesis and reverbs and stuff. And it's so funny that it's like I find myself going, well, I never use that Chaos pad. And I got another one over there I never use. Oh, the Helicon's got an incredible reverb. I never use it.
I'll trade you an Alesis for a Chaos pad.
No. Thank you, though. Actually, it's funny. Mark gave me his Rhythm Wolf, which has got the worst reviews ever. And it's great fun. It's really fun because it's really fun. But, that's the thing, what would happen if you got those two reverbs and you put the output of one into the input of the other and the input of one into the output of the other, and the only thing between them was a mixing desk where you were controlling the horrendous, terrifying feedback.
Start running them through gates.
Yeah. And what happens when you are, when you start doing stuff like that? And it comes back down to is that I was talking to one of my best friends, Al, in Australia, and I've known Al for like 30 years, literally 30 something years. And we went to university together. And Al he's retired. He retired when he was 40. He's one of those composers who retired when he was 40. Bought a fucking huge warehouse in some country town and turned it into like an art thing because he went, fuck it. Him and I were talking about how he's started doing these composition classes where they give really weird abstract lessons, and the purpose of them, and some of the people who are coming into it are beginners. Some of them are people like him who are like Al is a grand supreme black belt ninja master in composition. He is obscenely, terrifyingly, amazingly good. Like he's terrifying. He can sit down at a piano and score a scene like that. And that's what he did, and that's what he does. He's in this rut now. And some of the other people in this thing are painters or whatever. and it's all about music. It's all very Eno, about trying to find that spark to strip your mind back. And Alistair and I were saying that I have this problem that I'll do everything I need to do. All I have to do now is turn on the synthesizers. Can't do it. There is a wall in front of me that is stopping me from turning them on. And the process of me turning them on and loading it up takes 34 seconds. I can't do it. Yeah. Alistair would tell me how in his place, he would go up the stairs to his dream studio, fucking dream studio. And, but he would go up those stairs and he'd stop halfway and he'd curl up in a ball and he couldn't go up. And I've talked to other composers about this or other artists, and they're like, yep, same place. I can't go in that room. Or if I do, I find myself cleaning. I hate cleaning, but the only time I clean is procrastinating to turn it on. And it's like, has it always been like this? Is it getting worse? And all of them say it's getting worse. Okay, is it age? Is it what? And then you talk to somebody who's in their 20s and they're going, yeah, man, I have the same thing. And, I'm lucky. I was brought up I was taught a work ethic pre-internet.
Yeah.
So I can kind of look at this thing and Brent, as my music computer's offline. It's not on the internet, so I get more shit done. But I think it has a lot to do with death scrolling and with, it's such a strange thing. It's such a strange, and it's something I'm loving about painting is that, well, if I'm not making music, I'm doing something that doesn't involve my eyes looking at a fucking screen, and I'm using all of my fingers, not just my thumbs, to do something creative and to meditate on the concept of making music and making art. Ivan, I really would love to hear what you have to say.
I think it's always been there. It's just now it's easier to notice. And this
how do you get out of it?
And this is a problem that we all have, like, no matter how good we think we are or how bad we think we are or whatever. I mean, like, Nick Cave mentions this problem in a song. So, I mean, and we did. How do you get out of it? I wish I had an easy answer. I don't think there's an easy answer. It will happen, because you're already primed for it to happen. It's just, you're going to have to go out and do stuff that isn't it, that's not making the music, and, do stuff you've never done before, because having never done it before, that's where inspiration is most easily found. It's like, oh, I've never looked at this way. Oh, now I've got ideas. And that happens to me that happens to me just frequently enough. I'm not going to use the word all the time because there's no such thing as all the time.
Maybe I should do an app, which is the Electronic Carl, where I will verbalize the drill sergeant that is inside my head. He's kind of pretty fucking hardcore sometimes. Maybe I should do that. But he's gonna swear at you and make you cry.
And while you're listening to him, like, go someplace for a walk that you've never been to before.
Okay.
And go someplace crazy. Find some factory part of town with machine shops and train cars
and smells like oil.
Smells like, yes.
Yeah.
Very distinctive, scent of lubrication.
Of old lubrication.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. Thank you. Perfect. Rezi, and after Brett, I'm going to unleash my drill sergeant on you. Rezi, go.
We're kind of running out of large areas of machine shops that smell like cutting oil here in town in Boston. It's bygone era in some ways, but we've got a lot of like metal and glass storefronts with mochi donuts. So that's The most reliable thing that I have found, and it is not extremely reliable for the how do you get out of that? I mean, I don't want to go in the studio. Like, music is, it's difficult. The most reliable one that I've come back to isn't the drill sergeant. There's no yelling at me about should do it. There's a little bit of putting the goals, like a specific goal is good to have there. That's at least a orientation point. But it's keeping a really strong mental note of the pleasurable moments in creation, in practice, in sound design, in listening, in dreaming up new stuff. There's a definite, 15 hours for 15 seconds ratio kind of thing, but you got to go through it and get there. The only way out is through. And keeping a really present awareness, visualization of that positive sensation, the moment of pleasure in doing what you do. You can draw back on that and bring it back. Maybe you get over the hump. It's one of the things I've done.
Awesome. Sorry, Brent, I just temporarily muted your mic and my mic. Resi, thank you. You nailed it. Also, the other thing we could be doing is forming a fucking bohemian collective, as in early 1900s, going to coffee shops, smoking big fat cigars and drinking absinthe, but I'm trying so hard not to drink. Or you guys can drink absinthe. Fuck it, I'm going to drink absinthe. And we could masturbate about fucking art, like Debussy and fucking dude with the flowers. Yeah, him. And all of his other Chalista track mates. Brett, I want to hear what you have to say. Please unmute yourself.
Yeah, so along the lines of inspiration, so things have been a little slow on my side, and it's kind of a weird state though. So I find that I'm usually most inspired and most productive when I'm least mentally well. So if it's when the world's beating me to smithereens is when I am most focused and have the most energy to put into creating that monster and setting it loose. So not being professional at it, my perspective is a little bit kinder, I guess, to myself. It's like, if I'm not, so I still come up to the studio, like, and if I'm in here 10 minutes and I'm jamming on a beat and I get burnt out and I move on to something else, I don't beat myself up about it. It's just kind of where I'm at. It's kind of my 2 cents to it.
That's excellent. Thank you. And Ivan, thank you for putting, is that from Naked Lunch? Where is it from? His typewriter has...
Nick Cave, hallelujah.
There you go. Has turned mute as a tomb, and his piano crouched in the corner of my room with all its teeth bared. We should actually compile a bunch of movies to watch when you've got writer's block. I will throw in Jodorowsky's Dune. I will also, we need to compile this list right now. Jodorowsky's Dune and The Naked Lunch is the 2 that I will throw in. Reezy, I want to hear from you, and if anybody else has ideas on bankrupted mind movies,
yeah, just in case you weren't going to already launch into this, the having a space to go to is very crucial for some people, and making it a sacred space of some sort where it's at least consecrated in decor or ambiance or something that you can go to and be there in an otherworldly manner. I use that too. At least I get into the room and feel a certain way. It's a primer, it helps. It's another little tool in the quiver. It's not a solution again, but at least making it a place you want to be.
Thank you. Hold on, I'll also add Liquid Sky. So, oh shit, I don't know what I just typed, something random. Hold on. I want to talk about smell. As I look at my oil burner, making sure it's not about to explode. Look at you! Look at where's his little smell bowl. There's actually a guy in Hollywood who walks around. He's got this pigtail that comes out of the top of his head, dead up. And good on you. That's a good. Brett says he has to check his supply of sulfur. That's very good. And he sells really good incense. And when Mark sent me the fucking Wisdom Wolf, he gave me some incense, and they're really nice. Find a smell and use it. Do you want me to go, Jill Sargent, on your ass? Do you want me to do it? Do you want me to tell you what goes on inside my head? I just totally lost my list of movies. There they are. Okay. I'm going to mute your microphones. I'm going to offend you and I'm going to lose friends. Fuck it. I've heard your music. It's really good. Stop being a whiny fucking bitch. Make your fucking coffee. Sit down at the fucking computer now. Even better, if the music's not there and if it's not working, sit at a keyboard with no distractions and write the fucking song. Do it the fuck now. If you don't have any ideas, grab your fucking notepad and your fucking pen and go and get on a train and go to the fuck wherever and write down ideas on the fucking train. When you get to the end of the line, go to a coffee shop and write down ideas. You are allowed to do this. This experiment is going to cost you $10. You tight prick. You've got the fucking money and you've got the fucking time, because if you don't do this, you're going to death scroll on watching some dumb fucking shit on fucking YouTube. You fuck. Next, while you're coming home, you are going to prepare yourself for what you're going to do. And if you're out a day, then you're out a day. But tomorrow morning, you're going to get your fucking ass out of bed at 4 a.m. and you are going to turn those ideas into a song, because you have to start working or whatever at 10 or 8 or whatever. I don't fucking care. You're going to make your fucking coffee. You are going to turn on your little lamps and everything else and get some nice smell and ambience going. And you are going to convert these things into ideas, these ideas into music. And you're going to fucking do that, because you can do that, because you've done this before. You're not shit. You're pretty fucking good. If the song sucks, my first question is, where is the song? Does the song have a bass line? If not, give it a bass line. Does it have a melody? If not, work on that melody. Does it have a drum beat? If not, work on the drum beat. They are pieces that you put together as a child would put together Lego making a fucking spaceship. This is fucking fun. Stop complaining. Stop whining. Turn off that front inner voice and fucking work. You are allowed to spend 4 or 10 or 30 hours. Do it now. Fucking have fun. Do it now. Get off the internet. Put your phone in the next room. Do it now. There you go. Thanks. You're welcome. I hope that helps. And remember, I know where you fucking live because you backed my album. And if you don't do it, you know what I'm going to fucking send you.
He's going to do his shit.
Yes. Yes. I'm going to squat over a Snaplock bag after eating Vindaloo for a night, and I'm going to fill that bag and I'm going to send it to you. And you know I probably will. So the movies I have so far are Jodorowsky's Dune, Liquid Sky, and The Naked Lunch. And these are movies that will help get you out of the rut, especially Jodorowsky's Dune. And if you haven't seen it, he is an inspiring human being. If anybody has anything they want to add to that list, please, please, please throw it in this direction now. Is there anything else we want to talk about? Clockwork Orange? Yeah, sure. I'll put it down here because I respect Rob so much. Actually, it's fucking Kubrick. You bet I will put down. With Wendy Carlos doing the fucking soundtrack. Yes. Clockwork Orange is in. Holy Mountain.
I've put down the Bela films once in a while as my thing. I don't know if that is
Did
universal.
you write them in there?
Yeah.
Aren't they
What's wrong, man?
terrifyingly dark and fucked up? Said Carl,
I mean, they're
writing down Holy Mountain.
they're up there. Yeah. I mean, if you get into them, but you can also leave them on passively and just let them be wallpaper. They're really good for that. I mean, just the imagery.
Yes.
When I need to get hardcore on that, I tend to lean towards, old German expressionist stuff, like Men Who Laughed, Faust, the Golem, really good.
We should be putting these in the chat. And then I'm going to put them down. Somebody said to me, no, keep going. Ivan, keep going.
The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari is, a classic. It deserves to be on the list just for being so good. Look, let's not forget Metropolis.
Okay, can I just throw out there, how about you get that German stuff and do, if you're out of ideas, do the soundtrack to it, or take a 4-minute segment.
Oh no, absolutely.
And build a soundtrack to that.
Yeah, no, and I think the only film for me that makes it that's on the color talkie list would be the name is escaping me. This would be the COVID brain. It'll come back.
Awesomeness. Hold on a minute. Where is somebody asked me, don't you like oh yeah, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre does have a pretty amazing fucking soundtrack. I do like Holy Mountain. It's just a lot. It's a lot. It's funny how Jodorowsky's his early stuff is really confronting. And it's actually I saw that one of the local shops has got the soundtrack to Holy Mountain. I find it to be confronting, but it's this is a really interesting thing. And please feel free to drop in. My friend Carson's trying to get in. Damn it, Carson. Damn it. Hold on. Just give me a sec. I'm trying to get somebody. Give me 1 minute. AngelSpit Twitch. Hold on. Just give me a sec. Can somebody else just cover me for a sec?
Yeah, I was trying to think of a few more films, but I wanted to jump in with that. The Stalker, and
Stalker is great.
Yeah, there's imagery films and texture films that you don't necessarily need the story, and especially if they're in another language, just to leave the sound off while you work. I've found Solaris and
Solaris is great.
Who's the filmmaker? Why am I drawing a blank?
Oh shit.
The Russian guy.
Yeah.
Stalker.
The Russian guy.
Whoa. Yeah.
Sorry, I've got a good on it, Carson. I've got a friend who I've been trying to pull into this.
Romeo is bleeding.
Tarkovsky is one of those names you like to say because it sounds like professional and literate,
and it also sounds like you know what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Well, as opposed
That's
to
why I was drawing a blank on it.
Okay, so we're still in the process of Fantasia says Rob. That's a trippy one. Hold on, I lost my fucking list. So yeah, so damn it. Did I seriously just lose my list? Find the throw yourself into it. Do it. What were we talking about besides movies? Oh yeah. So this is a really interesting thing about horror movies and movies that are really unsettling. Is that they're a drug, or they're a really good alternative to a drug, because drugs are great fun, but I'm trying to reach this place without drugs or alcohol and all this sort of stuff, because that shit is temporary. if you watch a horror movie or some fucked up Japanese horror, or I have a feeling Bela is like this. It Holy Mountain. Holy Mountain is absolutely one of these movies where it gets your brain and it knocks it on its side. And you go, what am I watching here? This offends me. Holy Mountain offends me. But it's for that reason that I have to keep watching it, because I need to move through the I've got to move through that. And as my mind is doing through that, it's not the spoon that's bending, because the spoon doesn't exist. It's actually me who's bending. I saw Matrix again yesterday. Fuck, that movie's amazing. Still, and yeah, when you watch shit that is like, what the fuck is going on here? It does something to your a neurological processing, and obviously, beyond this is important because you're going to change your music. I'm so concerned that my neuroplastique it's becoming concrete. Yeah, I guess that this is what I'm really concerned about. Yeah, that's what I'm concerned about. Somebody talk to me. Go, Resi.
I always worry about that too. There's this like elderly thing when you're trying to stay hip with what the kids are listening to, and like it's put on and it's weird. But I think most of the people on this panel probably have the advantage of always being somewhat in disdain of the mainstream and always having a view of like, oh, this all sucks. So you get to just keep saying it, and it's still true, and it's still not just about what the kids are listening to now. It's what they've always listened to that sucks.
Yeah.
So you get to hold on to that anger and have your own alternative.
Absolutely. I love that. And the other really important thing as well is, hold on, I'm going to turn this on. Yes, we're discussing movies. Carson, use the chat and talk to us on the chat, because we're all there. And I can copy and paste it and add it to the list. What was I saying? Oh yeah, it's really the great thing about it is that our audience are predominantly grumpy old goths, and none of us are old. Like, we're all in our early 20s. Yeah, it's that's what's really important, is that you are. It comes back to, you can't bullshit your audience. You think you can, but you can't, because they're as smart and jaded as you are, because you attracted them. So you got to be true to them, and you can't. I don't know. There's so much in that. I think the most powerful thing you'll ever see in the world is that guy with his white shirt, one day white business shirt, just one day losing his shit and throwing his monitor through the wall and ripping his shirt off, and he's got all these black flag tattoos. And that guy who was in accounting who just lost their shit, who you always thought, oh, what a boring nerd, you suddenly realize that he's one of us. He was always one of us. So there you go. Thank you very much, Rob. Somebody say something quickly. Build on this.
Well,
Get me inspired.
Sorry. Yeah. It's hard to build on that, because I think that's I think part of that, is something everyone experiences different. It's not like it's in a vacuum. Yes, it's all true. We're the same grumpy crowd, but it's a pretty diverse sonic landscape that we all listen to. So I think there's a lot of freedom in what you can do. So, I mean, I'll pick on Skinny Puppy, for example. You go through there, just Skinny Puppies own track history, and each album is this completely different monster. But you look at what Kevin Key himself does, like Download. You mentioned Music for Cats earlier. His fans are still his fans, and you're still along for the ride for the experimentation. And I mean, I've run into kind of that, you know, how does a song necessarily fit the Demon Hate profile? Well, maybe not. Maybe it gets another project name or something like that, you know, Ice Planet, as an example. So I don't think it's as limiting. I think it's harder to keep things in the boxes that, you know, we've artificially laid.
And once again, like you said, that beast has got many heads, and you got to explore that, the depths and the diversity of that Cthulhu. And Rob says he misses the collaboration jams I used to have. I really want to do them again. I can do them now that I have better internet. And sorry, Razzie and Ivan, that last week just died suddenly. That was weird. I apologize. But yeah, it's really funny. We have so much exploration to do, and I don't know. I just really want to go to a fucking cafe right now, wearing a beret, drinking absinthe, and discussing fucking Monet or Geiger. Razzie, what do you got?
I got my Monet beret for the cafe.
Look at you,
Ready to go.
That just rolled.
On that,
You didn't even think about it. It just wow. You should get into music. You should be a composer.
I've been considering doing that, but I have some obstacles that we need to talk about on Twitch. So there's this little facet of what you were talking about, the drill sergeant was talking about, and that's going to a place. And I love it. I used to do that. I used to go outside. The thing in the sky that's
bright and
the heat, all that.
You can't look at it.
Yeah, that thing
makes you melt.
I've seen it. Been there.
Yeah.
I've been considering getting back into it. And okay, just real quick, my obstacles are the coffee's not any better. It's really fucking expensive. I don't want to be around people. I got to put headphones on, like all these things. But it's a good thing to do. It's a different environment. I get it. I'll get over all that stuff. It's a weird little dialogue I've been having past 2 days, coincidentally. But the question arose, and forgive me if this absolutely changes the topic, but notation. Does your song exist beyond the DAW? Like, I know there's like the lyrics scrawl and there's maybe, you know, the idea of the song, but it feels to me like the only true record of the song, and it's not very portable, is the DAW track file where I'm recording the guitar noodling, and maybe the 2 other files that are idea 5364 1994 part 2 take 3, you know, like that's the song. So I don't have a strong sense of what I'm going to do at the end of the MBTA red line, which takes 4 times longer than it used to for some reason, but it'll put you in Alewife, where there's a pizza shop and a daycare center.
There's a pizza shop?
It's Pizzeria Uno. It's nothing special.
Oh my God, I'm going to punch you. No, keep going.
What do you do there? What do you do at the end? You sit down in the coffee shop and, I mean, you bring the laptop and actually work on the piece?
No!
What are you doing? What's a drill sergeant
If you need
saying?
something electronic, oh my God. Drill sergeant says, get on the fucking train. You've got your phone. That's all you need. A piece of paper and a pencil. Combine, firstly, anything new is going to spark a new idea. Okay, so if you have bad coffee and you pay too much for that bad coffee, that could be the best thing in the world because you're angry. And your brain is going to go, the people here don't give a shit because they're being underpaid and the boss is crap and all the cuss cuttings means the machine doesn't get cleaned and it's a crap machine and the coffee shit. There's a reason why that was bad coffee. Let's explore that reason. This horrible music on the radio. What is this horrible music? Great. I'm going to let it feed into me because, man, I tell you, one thing I do miss about, because I used to live in Boyle Heights, is they played a whole bunch of Mexican music, and I don't know, it's got a style, I don't know what it's called, but it's all distorted and there's a lot of tuba. And I found, yeah, there's tuba. Every band has fucking tuba. And I found it inspiring. And it was really, really interesting. It was interesting because it was, there was and then you'd see photos of the band and they're all wearing cowboy hats, cowboy outfits in the desert looking off, every single one of them. And all their music does have very strong stylistic similarities. And I went, wow, it's not just goth industrial. Anyway, it was a very, very interesting thing. And I do miss that about it. Hold on, I'm just adding Romeo is bleeding. So step one is you're getting on the fucking train. Step two, you don't really know where the fuck you're going. Just go somewhere safe. Get a bad coffee and sit in there for a while. Maybe have 2 bad coffees. Even better if it's a diner. My God, I miss a diner. And sit down, being that annoying bohemian bastard who's outstaying the value of your coffee, and write down ideas on a piece of paper. Write them down. And when you're in there listening to the conversations of the people around you, those boring, benign conversations, listen to what they're really saying. And what they're saying is, my life is really fucking hard. And I'm having trouble here, and I'm glad you're here because I can bitch to you. Absorb the stories of America. Absorb those stories and let them bleed into the lyrics. Same with the thing. Discomfort equates to good ideas. I don't think sadness equates to good ideas, or when your life is a pile of fuck. For me anyway, my mind has to be clear. And it's funny that too much information, but hey, here's Carson. That I this week ended some medication. Because it was a hormone medication, nothing serious. It's that fucking hymn shit you put in your hair because I'm going bald and I have a hang up with it. But that fucked me up. And I had a weird reaction to it. And it put me into a fog and it made me depressed. The thing I love about my personal depression, it's this warm blanket that I put on sometimes because my depression isn't a problem. I thank my higher power. What's really interesting is that my depression, I know how to deal with my depression. That if my depression gets real fucking bad, I eat pizza and then it goes away, or I'll eat some good fucking chocolate. And you know, I can because I've been fucking coexisting with this stupid depression for long enough, I can figure out what's going on. But when it's something else that's induced, I don't know how to fucking deal with it and I can't handle it. So get uncomfortable. Go on that fucking train. Go on, man. It's fun. You fucking deserve it. Get on a fucking train. Waste an afternoon. You will come down with ideas and clarity and new air and everything. It'll be awesome. Do it. Notate what is going on. I have a roll of paper over there I bought online, and it's 16 inches wide, maybe 18 inches wide, and 20 feet long. And I just rip a piece off and write on it for a song, and it's covered in scrawling. Will that make it into the song? Probably not. Something that greatly inspired me was the inner cover of Dimon Kujar's, I think it was Equinox, where he's drawing. He takes photos of his of the working thing, and there's these little photos of well, I'm going to stick this into the ARP 2600 and I'm going to do this LFO blah blah blah. Do that. Even if it doesn't become a sound, who gives a shit? Do it. It's fun. So always push yourself and always go, what is an experience I can give myself? And what I just said to you was $10. Or if you're going to get 2 coffees, maybe it's 15. Do you have a VHS player? No. Good. Go to a shop that sells VHS if you can find one and ruffle through them. When you go to fucking Whoop Whoop, wherever the fuck, find yourself a thrift store, a Vinnie's, and just go through there. Walk through there. And here's something crazy. With all the clothes and stuff that are hanging up, identify that somebody wore those clothes and somebody had a life and memories in those clothes, and then go to the next item of clothing. Like, allow this to absolutely blow your mind, that it will allow yourself to follow a train of thought to some crazy fucking conclusion. Yeah, allow yourself to, you don't have to buy the clothes, but just go, you know, something is going on here. And there's a lot of talk of magic going on in the chat right now. It all fucking on this thing, everything leads to leads to magic. And Aleister Crowley did not play the tuba. I just want to set that straight now. That's pretty much for sure. Carson, turn your camera on. And if you want to say something, throw your hand up, and you're more than
Crowley was a flute player.
He was a flautist. He strikes me as a flautist. But did he play jazz flute?
He kind of specialized in skin flute.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ivan. I was going to go Ron Burgundy there, but was it bacon and eggs? Okay. Does anybody want to add to this conversation where I'm basically yelling at you? No? My God. Come on. Fucking inspire me. Carson, welcome. Carson just got an EMAX II. Carson, do you want to, oh look, oh now everyone's excited. Do you want to talk about your EMAX II for a bit?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me at all?
Yeah, turn up your volume.
Okay, 1 second here.
Volume, more volume. More volume. More volume.
Can you hear me? How's that?
Getting better, just a bit more. Give me 6
A little
dB.
bit more? How's that?
That's great.
All right, perfect. How's everybody doing?
Excellent.
Excellent. So yeah, I just got the EMAX II and just wrote a song with it. So I'm inspired again. I've been kind of
Awesome.
I've had writer's block for a little while here, but this inspired it, and Carl helped me figure out some of the things that I needed to figure out with some of his older videos on YouTube. So old gear helps inspire me.
Doesn't it just? So with the EMAX II, did you use, what library did you use? What drums did you use?
Let me think here. So I started sampling my mini AC. Hold on here. I sampled some of this running through my analog heat. I sampled some software. I sampled some of the stuff you see on the rack back there. What did I put in here? Where is it? That drum machine back there. Like I said, I sampled some software as well. So did some tweaking, dumped it into the machine, and I'm just in the beginning phases right now. I have a link if you want, if you guys want to hear it. I could drop it in there. Yeah,
drop it in the chat. So this is really fun because I remember we used to do this thing in the 90s. I absolutely love your I'm loving the kitten, by the way. That is awesome. I should be wearing my ears.
She's a fox. That's my dog.
Oh, you're a fox. Go the fox. We used to do this thing where we would spend one day recording, and we had an EPS 16 Plus, and this is with Damien, Lux Voltaire, and Sarah, and because we didn't really have a recording thing, we would take the EPS 16 Plus under the house, put a massive long extension cable, like power extension cable on it. And because under the house is all this junk, and we would cart an EPS 16 Plus around with some dinky microphone that had like a 20-foot cable on it. And we would be recording stuff by me and Sarah would be dragging this EPS around while Lux Voltaire was banging stuff. And it was awesome. It was really awesome. And so we'd spend a day making these samples. And then the next day we'd create a song. Although, you know, the songwriting process started happening very early because it's like, oh, I've got this stuff. I've got to make sense of it. I've got to turn it into a song. But it's the funnest thing to do is to create sounds and then to build a song. It is a good thing. And what you're doing, man, fantastic.
Yeah. Yep. I'm looking forward to maybe grabbing another portable recorder. Now that I have this, I mean, I've got samplers. I've got a Akai MPC X and an MPC 2500, but something like this old, and as we discussed the other day, the minute amount of space and the limitations are what are actually inspiring about it. The newer units where you can record a 1 minute long sample or a 5 minute long sample or whatever, not that you can't get inspired, but the sheer limitations of this unit combined with the amazing sound quality, or well, that's subjective, but
I think it's amazing.
Right, I do too. The amazing quality of this and its limitations are what are inspiring. So I want to take my recordings from my field recordings and dump them directly into this. Well, you might disagree because you said compress and get rid of noise. So.
Well, that's what I think, but you do what you do. You do your thing. I'm also seeing a whole bunch of distortion pedals behind you. A great fun thing to do with the sampler is to send a bunch of stuff out the one output, and then that goes into a distortion pedal. And the difference in volume and the difference in filter cutoff is going to drastically shape what the distortion does to stuff. We were talking about this last week, actually. Like, you know, if you have a kick drum and a snare, they go out together and they get distorted. That's a sound. Yeah. The kick drum alone is a sound, but then when you take the frequencies off that kick drum, like you filter out the highs, that becomes a new sound. So samplers were made for fucking distortion pedals, excuse my French, for distortion pedals and pedals in general and phases and all sorts of fun stuff.
Yeah, I've barely even scratched the surface on this thing, but what I've gotten so far and just getting sounds into it, it's already been inspiring. So working with floppy disks again is, I love it. And I got to get a SCSI cable. I got my SCSI zip drive. Here's the, where is it here? This is the one I could not get to work yet that I've got the CD-ROMs for. So I got to figure out how to get that to work. I'm getting some cables from a friend. This has that those clicky SCSIs on it.
Yeah.
So I'll be experimenting with this.
Make sure you've got a good terminator.
Exactly. He's letting me borrow some terminators. I think that is why it's not working. Now this would work with the VS 1880 that's up there without termination. So
but the 1880 is like, it's a different, it probably has self-termination in it. Exactly. I'm pretty sure the EMAXs don't.
Exactly. Different era. So that's exactly right.
Dude, man. Alrighty. Oh.
So glad I saved a whole box of 50-pin SCSI cables and 25-pin adapters.
Hey, and the adapters,
Terminator blocks.
I've got a bunch of those in a box someplace.
Yeah. It's funny. I've got this filing cabinet, and my filing cabinet's full of all my modular, like synthesizer stuff. And whenever I move, it's like I need two guys and a hand trolley to move it. Like, you can't lift it because it's so full of stuff. And most of the weight is zip drives that are dead. Zip drives, dead zip drives, because Rob was asking me about one. And SCSI cables. And SCSI cables are heavy because they're great, big, thick fucking things.
There's 50 wires in there.
Yeah. But yeah, it's Mayor Carlson, I'm really thrilled that you've got this thing, and it's a joy. Sorry.
GR.
You guys remember that pin, the 24 pin? The one that connects to the GR700?
Hold on, what's the guitar? There you go. Dude, legit.
So that's the bass. And then the guitar is right here. So that's the 707 guitar. But if you get your hands on one, it's gnarly and gritty. It is not clean, and it is a very nice sounding instrument.
Fantastic. It's really funny how we are drawn to the ones that are gnarly. It's the black sheep of technology that we go, yeah, we'll have that.
Yep, exactly.
And Roland with guitars and, you know, individual hexaphonic pickups and MIDI control, their whole history is that, from the 300 to the 707 to the, you know, the beautiful floor pedal that goes with that. You know, it's someplace between a JX 3P and an 8P. Sounds like a 3P, looks like an 8P. Like it's,
Yep.
Roland is where it was at, you know.
200 works with that thing too.
Yeah. Even through to the VG8 and VG88 and some of the modeling stuff, there's just like weird, crummy sounding, no like metal or jazz guitarist would ever approach this, but it's fucked up. Let's look at this. Have you ever
played the Casios that with the nylon strings?
The toy Casio, yes, yeah. I wasn't as into it, but there was a Casio with a proper 5-pin DIN port on it. There was a regular guitar, maybe a Yamaha or something, and the tracking on it was like nothing else. Somehow it was beyond, this was maybe 87 era kind of thing. So yeah, Casio had it going on too, absolutely.
There's a Casio and a Yamaha. There is a Yamaha that has a separate section that is just a small little nylon string section of like untunable things, right?
DG10, DG series. Yeah.
I saw one the other day. I think I was on Reverb or something. Anyway, yeah, and Carl's right. I'll have that.
I'll never use it, but yeah, I'll have it. It's I have a memory of when I first bought the first synth I bought was a Casio CZ3000, and I loved it. Yeah. And when I was buying it, it's funny, I was either going to get that or the Piano Plus, which was a Jupiter 106. I mean, a Juno 106. I should have got the fucking 106. But anyway, I remember the music shop I was in, which is this tiny music shop in some small country town that I was brought up in. The high school stud who could play guitar badly. But nobody really understood that he was terrible. Because he had a mullet. Anyway, I remember he was playing, they had the that GR guitar in there. They couldn't sell the fucking thing.
Yep. And
he was trying it out. And I remember watching a guy play bells and fat synthesizer coming out of a guitar. That's a moment in my life where I was brought up on a strict diet of AC/DC, where I went, oh wow. Well, something happened in my mind at the tender age of 14, which was like, I think most guys discovered girls. I discovered MIDI.
It's funny that you say that, because I was just going through some of the bass patches on this EMAX, and when I was about 14 is about the first time I heard Pretty Hate Machine, and I'm going through patches on here, and there it is, the bass patch for Sanctified, that barrel, bam, boom, bam, boom, bam, barrel, and there
yeah.
But that was some of the first stuff that I heard that inspired me too. Anyway,
and the EMAX compresses beautifully. It just the compression on that synth is like when you compress, you like an audio compressor. I'm not talking about data compression. Okay, it's just it sings. It's really beautiful.
Yeah, I think you listened to Too Dark Park. I started watching that documentary or the streaming that Kevin Key did. And I mean, that whole album, geez, they didn't even know they were making a masterpiece, I guess. But hey,
if I have any, I don't think I have any EMAX II zips, but if I do, I'll send them down.
Oh, great.
And I sent you another thing. When I did the Nosferatu soundtrack, I used EMAX II.
Excellent.
When I had my EMAX II.
Email. I was out Friday, so there's probably a bunch of emails waiting for me. So.
Yeah, and it was great because it was we did it quadraphonic. Mm-hmm. So we used the separate outputs as going to different things. And the cool thing about the EMAX is that you can have a different sound on every single key. Every single key can have its own, it can be going out all the different outputs. It can have its own chorus. It can have its own filter. It can have its own aftertouch, and the harder you hit it, the more frequency it opens or whatever.
Yeah.
Every single key, which is why Depeche Mode used them live, because it's like I'll have my blah 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 sound up here and then da 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 da.
Yeah. I can't wait to dive in. You mentioned Nosferatu. The link or I sent a text about the movie The Begotten. Did you see that? Have you seen that?
Yeah, I haven't put it in the chat, and I'm going to add it to the
So-
list.
You've seen Shadow of the Vampire, right?
Yes.
Okay, so Elias Marriage, that he directed that movie. He also directed The Begotten, which is nothing like Shadow of the Vampire. It's much more like the original Nosferatu, except what I would suggest is watch the trailer. Do you want me to dump the trailer in there, a link to the trailer?
Sure.
Okay. It will blow your mind. And it might be something if you're scoring, rescoring movies on streaming, it would be the perfect one to rescore, and it would be related to Nosferatu through the Elias Marriage connection. Anyway,
Okay.
I know that sounds a little weird, but
All right.
you've probably seen clips of The Begotten in the Crypt Orchid video that Marilyn Manson did. Have you seen that video?
No, I have not.
Okay.
Brent, you rock. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week. And we're going to wrap this up very shortly.
All right. I'm actually going to have to get going too. And I'm dressed like this. My Halloween costume is Squatting Slav. I don't know if you know what a squatting Slav is.
I don't know, but you look great.
So my kids are having a party. So I'm going to drop this link in, and I will say goodbye.
You rock. You got that link every Saturday, same time.
All right. Beautiful.
Okay. So we're going to bail as well. And I'm going to wait to see that link. And then I'm going to put a whole bunch of these movie suggestions down here. When you're feeling uninspired, we're going to thank you very much, sir.
No problem.
The Begotten. All right. So here are a bunch of movies. And these movies will hopefully inspire you. When you're in a dark place without inspiration. So thank you very much for joining us for Art of Rock. If you're on here in the Zoom, we're going to hang out afterwards. Very, 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 very shortly, we're going to rate to MTV TV because it's bloody awesome. Every Saturday, we are doing our thing here. Same bat time, same bat channel. Watch it on ANGELSPIT'S Twitch. How about you like ANGELSPIT'S Twitch? Oh yeah, do it. This is made possible from ANGELSPIT'S with the help of ANGELSPIT'S Patreon. $3 a month, and you get to help me out, and I would be very grateful. ANGELSPIT'S new album is called The Bastard Gods, and it's on BANDCAMP there. Go grab it. The playlist you need to know about is called the Industrial Incisions playlist. Whole bunch of old industrial, whole bunch of new industrial. Go have a listen. It's awesome. And if you want non-stop music from the bleeding edge 24 hours a day, MTV TV. And if you've got a video, send it to them and they will play it. So Diana, if you would be good enough to rate us to MTV TV, we are going to go there now. We're going to keep hanging out and talking in the background here. Thank you so much for joining us. And we're just going to play this puppy out, and mics are on, and you guys are welcome to talk about anything you want. Thank you for joining us. This is good fun. And Diana, let us know when we've rated, because we're going to MTV TV. And that's the part where you guys can start like talking about random shit, because we're getting played out.
Dude, Carson, left already.
Dang.
Because Begotten was really popular with the propaganda magazine folks back in '89.
Who is Propaganda Magazine?
They were a big goth magazine out of Hollywood back in the day.
Rezzy's making some strange sounds.
Yeah, there's a history with it. That's all.
Okay.
I know there most certainly is. It's weird.
Yeah, Fred Berger had some proclivities, let's just say. Some of my still to this day close friends were involved with the early days of that magazine. But
Diana, how's the raid going?
it was a moment.
So we've rated? We've rated. All right, we're leaving. This is the part where I have to figure out how to stop streaming. Can I do it? Can I do it? Can I do it? No, I can never do it. You know, I can never do it. I can never figure out how do you stop the stream? Wasn't that a song? Don't stop the stream.